The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Come to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Welcome to another episode of the BeAuSm Podcast. Another exciting episode, as they all are. They just seem to keep getting better and better. This one is just fell into perfection as far as how we got here. Today I have the creator that she started Be Inspired. And then created a nonprofit, Be Inspired Together LLC, which we're going to focus a lot of our attention on that. We might get into Portuguese because I think you're one of the first Portuguese name person that is from family is from the Azores, and my family's from Madeira. So we might do some Portugal talk. We don't know here, but Marci daCamara is here. I said that right. I got that correct. Close enough. Welcome to the podcast. This isn't your first. We just caught just before we came on. You are a podcast expert, so no going through the motions here. We're going to dig right in.
I wouldn't say expert, but thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start with, how did you get here? What got you to doing what you want to do? A little bit of your background. You grew up in Randolph. Found out that my best friend's music teacher was your music teacher, which is a small world. What got you into the world that you're in today? I've
always wanted to help people. It just was always where my passions lied, always what I wanted to do. Then after grad school, I worked for a number of different outpatient practices, state agencies, residential, outpatient, family-based. And after I had my girls, I decided that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to work for myself. So I opened a counseling practice. It was just supposed to be me. Mm-hmm. And now there's 12 of us. So that kind of shifted. And I love being with the group. But what we found was that we were offering a lot of pro bono services because I have a bleeding heart and I can't say no to somebody who comes to me with a story and they need help. I just can't turn people away.
Yeah. Well, everyone has a story, but everyone that comes to your door has got a story.
Yes. Some more heartbreaking than others. Mm-hmm. But I just remember a number of people would come and say, you don't take our insurance and I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Or myself or my child have been bumped from therapist to therapist to therapist and they didn't work. Or, we were with an intern and then they left, and people who were just inappropriately matched by other agencies. They have heavy level trauma with somebody who just got out of grad school is not an appropriate match. Or, the next therapist is open, so you go there and didn't think about what the people needed. Mm-hmm. And so I just couldn't say no to people who I knew I could help or my team could help. And so I then figured out there has to be a better way of offering these services. Mm-hmm. And so 2022, end of the pandemic, when everybody was in more need of mental health and the system kind of blew up, we founded Be Inspired Together. Mm-hmm. And our mission is to ensure that everyone has equal access to the quality care they deserve for mental health. Mm-hmm. And we provide scholarships to cover that deficit. Mm-hmm. So that way no one is turned away. No one has to feel that they can't get the right match because of whatever their financial status is or need or insurance or anything like that. And that people just could get the services they needed.
Yeah. And I'm going to preface everything with the legal statement. I don't even know that it needs to be done. I think everybody knows I'm not an expert on anything, and I learn about a lot of things, but I am a product of someone that has taken advantage of mental health services over the course of my life. I've shared some deep things in my life that I haven't shared with others on this podcast. You are an expert, but by no means is this episode going to fix anything. Nothing that we're going to say is a one and done fix. You can't be like, oh, I'm fixed. I know what my problem is or where my deep lying trauma came from. So That is not the intention here. The intention here is to bring awareness to the program that you have, which I think is phenomenal, and the importance of mental health. And I think I know you're spot on. You've gone to school for this. You've got it, the facts and figures. But that BeAuSm was going to be, the BeAuSm book was originally the BeAuSm, the Essential Elements to Kicking ASS. I don't say it because I got kids and I don't want them listening. Hope that they don't spell things out. But the idea behind the book originally was for me to share how amazing I've made my life, right? Because you have to make your life. Your life isn't amazing because you just show up. You have to be present. You have to do things. And I wasn't comfortable with that. And COVID hit. And very quickly you saw the world in a different lens. And the book was going to be called You Are Awesome. And it was meant to just tell stories of people's resilience and ability. And then the final product is BeAuSm, the Essential Elements to Living Your Life with Grace, which are elements to do things. But the key thing is in that piece was that mental health became real at COVID, right? People didn't talk about, I went to my first therapy session in February 2007, and it was a tipping point in my life. I had some things that happened and I didn't have the capacity myself to handle it any further. And I didn't know what I would get, what to expect, or how that would impact me positively or negatively. It was a positive thing, obviously. But it's something that's real, and it's something that there is a financial barrier. In 2020, when COVID was in its prime, I lost my W-2 paying job and I had to self-benefit myself for a period of time. And I quickly saw how fast your benefit package can make a difference in your mental health support. And it went from a $20 copay to a $250 all pay, right?
Which just screws with your mental health more.
Well, it did. I stopped. But, I went for a quarterly tune-up opposed to a weekly check-in, right? And so that can make a huge difference in progress.
Yeah, right? For sure.
And I mean, that's really what we're trying to do. I mean, the people that are coming to you, I'm not going to use the word right, but we're all broken, right? We all have some level of being broken, and we go to therapy, in my opinion, to figure out how to put the pieces back together, right? And how to live with and move forward, not move on from a lot of the things that might be bothering us or have bothered us in our past that have come up and reared their ugly heads in our current and could have impact our future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about moving forward, taking those broken pieces and, the broken crayons can still color.
Right.
And broken glass still shines light through, and how kind of the same message of BeAuSm. How can you take what you have and impact people and impact your own life and manifest your own destiny?
Yeah. I think that it's just so amazing that, and I could never see how my therapist is just recently retired, because I called to get back in there, and he just recently retired. And I used to always think and I used to try to be like, I hope I'm your worst patient. Right? I hope I'm your most difficult person, because a lot of times I just needed an hour. And that was the thing. He's like, this is your hour. If you want to just come here and just think, go ahead. Just let's talk about what it's such a great outlet of, and the thing that we'll talk about is the importance of trust. You say, bouncing around from therapist to therapist. That's just like going and playing a game of telephone. You have to build and establish that trust with the therapist to be able to feel comfortable that you're going to share everything that you've got that you wouldn't share otherwise, because it's getting it out there is what helps fix and repair those pains and traumas, as hard as it is to believe. And it takes a while. And
it's, an odd concept, because we teach our kids stranger danger, right? Don't talk to strangers. And here you are sitting in a stranger's office,
right? Telling
them your life story,
right?
Focusing just on you when we're taught to be selfless and check on others. And now you're just talking about yourself.
Yeah.
And, people always come in and say, well, can you fix me? No, you're going to fix yourself.
Right.
We're going to help you.
Right.
But we only know what you tell us.
Right.
So it's like you said, it's your hour. However you want to use this time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go digging to find out about your past. Whatever you bring to the table is where we're going to go.
Right. And there's no silver bullet. It's not, you can go to school your entire life and have every playbook under the sun. There's always going to be a situation that is different. And that's why it's just as much a work of effort in the patient side as it is in your side of the room. I always laugh at someone said something to me once, well, what do you think your therapist writes? And I was like, I just think about the movie Couples Retreat. You ever see that?
Yep.
What are you writing? What What are you writing? Interesting. What are you writing? But that's something, you have, that's something that I always experienced that I was just fascinated by, was my therapist's interest in me, genuine interest in me, when I knew I was one of probably 100 people. But he always knew where we left off. He always knew where we were going, like what was happening. That's gotta be hard.
It's hard. But we're invested in our patients.
Yeah.
So we want to be there. And I was talking to a patient this morning about how we are always on.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can work at a desk job and sometimes just zone out for 5 minutes, and we don't. Like, we are in it. So, whatever tricks each therapist uses on their own to remember where you left off with your patient and the name of your dog and your best friend's cousin's sister.
Yeah.
Like, because we're in it with you. We want to see the progress.
Yeah. We
want to see our patients succeed.
That has to be like the most rewarding feeling, to see someone that you've worked with. How long have you had a practice for? You said
so Be Inspired Counseling will be open 8 years in 2 weeks. So just about, but I've been doing this since it's in 25 years.
Wow.
Wow.
So you've got patients that you've gone the course with, that you've seen just this improvement, right? Because you can see it, like whether they say it or not or anything, you can see it in their demeanor, you can see it in their tonality and their conversation. That's got to be like the greatest feeling of accomplishment, like greater than anything. And probably part of the reason why you did the nonprofit was to get that same result for people that otherwise couldn't afford it, right?
Right. It's awesome. It's awesome to see people have like the tiny successes and the big successes, and help them realize that if they don't, or like when you get a text or a call from a patient between sessions saying like, I did this and I couldn't wait to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an awesome feeling to be so invested and so ingrained in someone's life that they want you to know and want to celebrate that with you.
Yeah. No, that is so cool and again, it's a comfort level. I want to talk about the nonprofit, all the great things you're doing, but let's talk about for a second. You've got 12 counselors, and I just talked about comfort and trust. What would you say to someone? I'm sure you guys, and I'm not going to compare a real estate agent, but I will compare a real estate agent in this case, right? You go to sell your house, and you've got 5 or 6 different real estate agents all say the same thing, and you've got to pick one, right? How does someone pick how does someone properly look at, or what are some best practices that a patient should think about when it comes to choosing a therapist, given the option, right? Because some people don't, in other parts of the country, because this is listened to globally, some people just, they get what they get and they can't get upset, right? But if someone has the option, or someone has an option to be in a program like yours that has multiple counselors, what's the path of least resistance to the quickest point of trust and comfort? Which I think the answer is real simple, which is find someone you're comfortable with.
Find someone you're comfortable with. We always tell our patients, our new patients, that it's like finding a pair of shoes. It's got to be comfortable. I do the initial matching for everybody. So a client will call in and say what their situation is, and then I will look at the clinicians, and we all have different strengths or areas that we thrive in, or age groups, and I'll do what I think is a good match. 99% of the time I'm good with it. And then the 1%, and I always call and check in after. How was your appointment? Did it feel comfortable? And we check in like a month later. Is it still comfortable? Is it comfortable for the clinician too? Like, it has to be a good match on both sides. And then if not, we try to what didn't work, what worked, or if someone has done the therapist bounce before I match them, what didn't work before? What did you like? What didn't you like? Are you looking, do you want a clinician who is more your age? Do you want a clinician who's not your age? Do you, whatever it is that they're looking for. I say people read our bios online, see if there's someone who you think you connect with. We all work a little differently. And it's okay to say this doesn't feel right. We want to empower them to take control of it. And if it doesn't feel right, then we'll find someone else. And so I think people have that comfort level knowing like, I don't have to stay with this if I don't like it. They can move me within the group. I don't have to go back on the wait list.
So I've never asked this of my therapist. I've just always kind of snuck in the door and run to the office and start talking. Is there like a specialized group? Like, do you just work with kids? Do you just work with adults? Do you just work with substance abuse? Do you work with everything under the sun?
So we are more of an everything under the sun. We have some clinicians who see littles, 5, 6, 7s. We have some clinicians who only want to see the 60 to 70-year-old bracket. We have a lot in the middle, the preteens, tweens through adult. We have 2 clinicians who have a background in substance use, but that's not our primary focus typically. But we'll take someone in early recovery. We have a couple of trauma therapists. We have someone who does EMDR. A lot of people who are trained in DBT. Just people in different modalities, or different diagnoses. So people are looking at a couple of people who do couples or family. So because we're such a large group, we can treat a larger span. There are families where we'll have 5 different family members seeing 5 different practitioners within the practice. So nobody, because I don't love when people share the same, if at all possible, clinician within the family. Happens sometimes, and that's totally fine, but we try to avoid it if we can. So we could have a family come in and everybody's being seen in the same group where they're comfortable. The family knows what to expect, but everybody has their own therapist. Yeah.
That's a whole smorgasbord of stuff.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I just, I sit here and I think about it, what, if I wanted to get into a practice, what would I think they're all hard. I mean, kids would be, for me, I think the kid part would be the challenge one, right? But also could be the most rewarding.
It's a very different level of being on with the littles because you need to lesson plan, have some ideas in the back of your head, meet the kid where they're at, but have lots of different things. The 5-year-olds I see, I probably have 15 different activities because I don't know which way it's going to go. Yeah. And then the teens and the adults who want to come in on their own, they bring their stuff with them. Right. So it's easier for them to lead the session than the littles who are parents are saying it's a good idea.
Well, and they're trying to figure out whether they should be there or not and what they should say or not say because they've been raised with stranger danger and you're a stranger. So it takes a while to break that down.
And it's a lot of building the relationship with the littles takes a lot longer. Yep. So
is there I keep saying we're going to get in, I have so many, what I think are interesting questions. Is there a demographic that that your industry is seeing a huge spike, like an age group, an area, something that's saying, wow, this is like off the charts from wherever it was? Is it tweens? I would think that tweens and teens, I say to people all the time, I don't know how our kids, under 25 are doing it with social media influence and everything else. And just the accessibility of everything under the sun on the internet. Is that the group that's really...
That's the group that we're seeing. I mean, any practice could see something else. We're seeing a lot of teens and tweens who are, even referring their friends. So talking about mental health, because when we were little, you didn't talk about mental health in school, or if someone disappeared for a few weeks, you didn't know where they went. Right. But because of social media and texting and all of those things. Yeah. But there's also, we're seeing a huge spike in anxiety. Yeah. A lot of it related to social media. Yeah. And the pressures from their parents, from their peers, from school. But I would say most of our referral calls right now are the teens and tweens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the parents put the pressure on the kids because they're so engaged in the social media. And it's nuts. I hate social media. You've seen me active over the last week. I don't even know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I need to get, Adam and I have talked about this because I've been like, I need somebody to do social media because I don't want to be on it. Right.
But you have to when you're in the industries.
You do, but you just, you do because, for the book we want to promote and we want to do it with $0 budget marketing. We want to do it all by word of mouth. We want to do it all by our friends, family, and everything else. And I see that there's a lot of positive to it. A couple episodes ago, I talked about this. I can't remember which episode it was. But I very rarely go on my personal Facebook page until now. And I went to go put a post on it. And here's someone I hadn't talked to in a number of years. I hadn't done any, didn't have his phone number. It was a connection of some sort, someone friendly with that somehow got into my group of people. Yes. And I log in to go put this post on. And there he is talking about how he doesn't want to live. And that's not the place to do it. Yeah. And that puts trauma and stress on every person that's on that thread that can see that, because God forbid you do something. Now what?
Some people use it as their own personal diary.
Right. And I see some of that. I do that with LinkedIn as far as a time capsule for when, and a lot of it is so that, my competition for the software company I'm a part of, they love to borrow things. And so I just like when that happens and it gets alerted to me, I go, oh, check it out. I made the post in 2007. I have a weird brain where I can remember almost exactly when I put things together. So that's where we're at with therapy and what people should do and finding comfort. And great to have that they reach out to you and they can be placed. You've got this wonderful practice, obviously with 12 team members. You're doing something right, and you're making a difference in people's lives. You start Be Inspired together. How many patients or how many people have gone through your system or active? And because this isn't a one and done. This is you're making a massive commitment of time and resources. Also, regardless, you're not going to say, hey, I didn't get enough sponsors for the golf tournament, so we can't continue to see you. I'm sure you and your team have made a lot of personal sacrifices, but how many people roughly have you helped in the last 3 years with this, or 2.5 or 2 and change?
So the scholarships officially launched in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2023, we helped 39 people
Wow.
for over $36,000. We also did free grief counseling groups. There was a lot of loss in the local area that year. So we offered free groups for people. We offered just workshops for different school systems, towns. Yep. We have a therapy summer camp. We paid for someone to go to that. We paid for the therapy dogs to come in and talk to people. So it wasn't just the individual, but it was also some community things. But, any client who's on the scholarship, and the scholarships are blind. So the clinicians don't know if the client is how they're getting paid. They just know they're getting paid.
Oh, wow.
Most of the clients do share that information, but that's totally their choice.
Well, it's probably out of just an absolute gratitude.
Yeah. And a lot of them it is. And some of them haven't said anything, but they get the same treatment as everyone else. So some of them, like some clients only stay for a year and some have still continued and increased in frequency or decreased in frequency. But we get calls every day for people who want to be seen, which is why it's so important for us to continue to fundraise and increase our sponsors and our donors so we can provide as many scholarships as possible. We're still a young group and we're competing with all the other amazing nonprofits in the area and trying to, get our name out there as much as we can, which is hard when people are already committed to certain things that are important to them. To how can you maybe be willing to hear about another group? Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I get approached regularly, obviously with a company like BeAuSm and a lot of things that we do, and that's a hard thing, right? Because you can't say yes to everything, right? You can't say, you have to have your heart and that could be, your heart is into helping the homeless, your heart could be into helping veterans, your heart could be, and they're not all together, they're all separate, right? And there's only so much of a pot that people can dig into. I tend to focus on things that can positively impact people, which is mental health. And then also, I'm a big advocate for the work that I do in software, and some of the work that I do with BeAuSm is in schools. And it's before a lot of these little ones go through the difficulties and the traumas and the dilemmas and the tough places that they have to go to and live and things. But that's got to be hard because it's not just you have your team, but it's really everything that I've seen in the last week that I've looked at. It's really you pushing all of this stuff out, and probably the website and the sponsor requests and the sweatshirt, which I got to order, which is really a cool looking sweatshirt. Good promotion on that.
One of our board members did that, in memory of someone who passed away from mental health issues. We have a great board. Yep. It's all volunteer. Myself, we're all volunteers right now.
Yep.
And just people who are passionate about it, and everyone's kind of working in different areas for it.
Is your board all therapists?
No, I'm the only therapist on the board. We have one school adjustment counselor, but it's made up of different people who I've met in my life, some teachers, some people in the financial world. There is a psychiatric nurse practitioner who's on the board.
Mm-hmm.
We have a nice range of people because we want to get our name out as much as possible, and everybody, different pots of people.
Yep.
The hope is that in the next 5 years that we can expand where people are being able to have their services, so we can say, you go where you want and you just bring us back the bill and we'll take care of it. So people can seek counseling in other places or psychiatric services.
Yeah.
But before we take anyone else on or even put anyone on the scholarship, I want to make sure that we can fund them and there's not a chance of them not being funded.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, the board is great. The board is pretty active.
Yeah. I think I think the fact that they're not all therapists and that they're just looking to make a difference and help and bringing that awareness. I have my ADHD just kicked in. I have one of my endorsements for my book. His name is Andy Rise, and he's one of only 3 in the NFL, and he's a mental fitness coach. Wow. And so he works with the team, the Chicago Bears. It happens to be, I don't want to say their name because we're in New England and we don't like them, but he works with their team, their staff, they're considered players. And it's just important for the Chicago Bears to have mental fitness as it is physical fitness, which I think is really, really cool and often overlooked. Like you look at the NFL specifically, and we don't need to talk about the traumatic brain injury stuff. We can talk about where some of these players have really gone down dark holes, not because they're physically not fit, but because they go from the most widest cheered player on the team to the most booed and hated, and that emotional, psychological piece to their life is impacted, and they have to have someone like Andy. I think things like that to bring more awareness that everybody hurts, and we're all enough, right? We all are enough. We just don't always feel that way all the time. We need to figure out how to remind ourselves of that.
I think when Simone Biles at the Olympics 4 years ago kind of walked off and just said, my mental health is coming first, was a huge shift for athletes.
Yeah.
Like the music industry, Noah Khan talks a lot about his mental health. So it's just everywhere now more, which is just great. And it's not taboo like it used to be, or as taboo as it used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in the connection between mental health and physical health in athletes. And we do have a board member who that's very much like her catchment area of things she works on. So she kind of works on those events. Yeah. Just to try to, where do people need? Why? What are people looking for? How can we support them? Yeah.
Well, we're going to transition to some promotion here and I'm excited to do this because I'm going to tell the story as it happened and
the
how
Friday
we're
story.
Here, the Friday story. So I was thinking of you to have you on the podcast. So the full backstory here is I knew nothing about your organization a year ago, nothing. And I was a board member for the Easton Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. And they said, we've got a ribbon cutting for Be Inspired Together in Stoughton, which we do have members that live in the town, but their business is in another town. Knew absolutely nothing about it. I went over for the ribbon cutting as a board member. I walked in, I asked a couple questions, I met you, and I'm like, this is amazing. Why doesn't the world know about this? This is such, the biggest thing for me is to take away barriers of resistance for people so that they can get to the thing that they need. And the thing that a lot of people need is mental health help. Yeah. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And so you and I exchanged, I think you had your golf tournament coming up because you had invited me to the golf tournament, and I had a conflict, and we said, hey, let's figure out how we can collaborate something together. And both went our separate ways. Life got busy and crazy. And I thought of you last week. And last Tuesday I had a keynote for me. I'm big on signs. I don't know what they mean most of the time or how they happen, but there's something that hits sign wise. So I was driving up to Canada on Wednesday. You had sent me a message and said, hey, do you have some time to talk? I'm like, hey, I got 10 hours of driving. I didn't realize it was going to be 12 hours because Canadian Customs is locking us down. Stern but fair. Canadian Customs, stern but fair. They went through my truck with a fine-tooth comb. And you said, hey, I'll give you, I said, give me a call. Here's my phone number. Da, 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 da. I drive in the truck and I find out that a keynote that I was really looking forward to, top to 10,000 person in attendance keynote, notified me on Wednesday that they chose to not go in the direction with me, which is okay. It happens from time to time. I was like, oh, that's a kick on my way to Canada. And I go to Canada, very emotional week, that some things that happened hit charged positively, and a few that were not exciting to hear, but things I needed to. And Friday morning, I get up, I go see this group at the Miramichi Rod Hotel, downtown Miramichi, where I was a year to the day prior with Mark, my publisher and co-author. And that's where the book truly started. That was the creation of the book. And I read them a chapter, the last chapter, and I'm not going to read it to everybody here because I want you to go buy the book. I
bought the book.
But yeah, no, I'll read the chapter to you, give you a head start on it. But the chapter is only a page long, and it's every chapter is powerful. But I got to read them the last chapter, which is about my youngest son, and I was on cloud nine. I was like, wow, this is great, this is fantastic. And then I had sent you a note because I was like, I want to make sure I didn't miss the call. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I was like, and so you said, hey, I'll call you at, I think, 2. And so I was driving. I had Paul, who saved my life. Paul was in the truck with me. Paul Anastasi saved my life in 2017. And the reason why I'm here today, thankfully, and so many other great things have happened, including having a youngest son. And you call and you just say, hey, just wanted to let you know that we have this Community Inspiration Award. And I'm sitting here thinking, you said May 1st. And I'm like, May 1st, I'm available that day. And I thought, I didn't know if you were going to ask me to MC or what was going on, but I was listening. I'll admit, I was half listening. I was driving. I was half listening to the whole thing. And you just say, our board has nominated and decided that we want you to be the recipient of the Community Inspiration Award, which was just an amazing honor. And so grateful for that. And thank you, and thank the board and whoever nominated me or however that all happened. So I'm going to be in attendance on May 1st as an honored guest, I guess is what I got out of what you had shared. It's going to be at Avenir, as I say that right?
Avenir in Walpole.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to do a little speaking.
Yeah, that's whatever you guys want. You got me for the night, and I'm glad. I'm not going to say the name of the group, but I'm glad you guys didn't give me the opportunity, because I would have had to cancel myself because I wouldn't miss this for the world. And so tell us about the event, how people can learn more about it, how they can sponsor and do this, or more importantly, how do they get involved long game, right? Because this is what you got to build. You got to build a long game. This is one of those things where you can't just, like I say, set it and forget it and it's done. This is going to be long term. And I, sadly, as much as I tell people my business at BeAuSm is busy when people don't feel awesome, and it's busy, right? And that's you and I talked about it. It's like when we have lots of work, that means that there's a lot of hurt out there, right? So
it's a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, it is. And so, how did the event start? How did it start? How does it get here? How many people are going to be there? So
this is our third gala.
Yeah.
This is our third year of the award, and we're so grateful that you're able to be there, because your message to the community is just heard everywhere. And I don't know anybody who hasn't heard of you.
It's just my head. Adam, my head's not going to fit through the door. We got to widen up the door here.
But you're also you're a person who people can talk to, and you're relatable. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we loved about it. So this is our third. This is probably our biggest event of the year. Mm-hmm. It's going to be at Avenir in Walpole. It starts at 6:00 on Thursday, May 1st. We have dinner, seated dinner, we have auctions, we have raffles. This year, we're going to have the Jake and Jenny band. It's going to come and play, get people out on the dance floor. They're a local band. Cocktail attire.
Cocktail attire. So I can't wear my t-shirt and jeans.
I mean, you can wear whatever you want. Really. I'm not going to kick you out.
No. I'm already planning on dressing up. This is a big thing. I'm going to wear my BeAuSm sneakers. You haven't seen those, have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh man!
But my glitter sneakers that I have on now are usually what I wear.
Oh, there you go.
But this year I have green, because mental health is green. I have green sequence sneakers this year.
Oh my goodness!
Coming in.
I'm pulling this up. You keep talking, but you're gonna
see these sneakers.
Yeah.
And so people can get tickets through our website, which is beinspiredtogether.org. There's an events link on there, so tickets are on there. If people are interested in sponsoring, they can email me at Marci, Marci at beinspiredtogether.org. Or there's a section on the website where you can just send a message through it. And we have different sponsorship levels. They come with tickets to the gala, so you can join us and kind of see what we're doing. And then one of the other things that we do, which is great impact, is we ask someone who has been a scholarship recipient or has benefited from mental health services, in addition to the community inspiration speaker, to speak. And then we do this live thermometer, so people donate live, and then we can kind of see how much we can raise as the night goes on.
Very cool.
Which is pretty cool because it's live in time.
Is it just live for the people that are in the audience, or do you do live like Facebook Live or camera?
Someone always goes Facebook Live, and last year we asked anybody who posted it. We're using social media for the good here. Anybody who posted it to their social page got an extra raffle ticket for the raffles.
Oh wow!
So it's like a text number. You text into this number, and then you can. So we had lots of people who weren't there who were able to participate.
And what's your goal?
I mean, I think my lofty goal is $100,000. But I think, I would love to. Last year we raised 42.
Yeah.
So I would love to get to 60 this year.
How many people?
We had about 150 last year. So the room can hold like 300 people. So there's tables of 10. You can buy a table, bring your friends.
So we could have 300 people there this year.
It'd be amazing.
Well, that's I think 300 people and $100,000 is a great goal to have.
It would be
especially
so many people.
Look at those. You talk about green; those are so.
Oh my gosh, those are amazing.
Yeah, no,
you guys
I know.
Could all see these sneakers.
Yeah, so my Mark, my guy, my partner in crime with the book and my merchandise master, as we call him, his son went to University of Richmond. I had said I'd love to have a pair of BeAuSm sneakers about a year ago. And he says, we could do that because he does all merchandise stuff. And so last August, he's like, hey, come over. And I went over and he shows me this. And it was a University of Richmond basketball player, Q. I think his name's Quentin Q. Q's Customs, if you go on Instagram for him. I wear Stan Smith sneakers. And there's a big reason why I wear Stan Smith sneakers. It goes back to a lot of things in life. When I grew up, my mother had a pair of Stan Smith sneakers.
Oh.
And we didn't have a lot of nice extravagant things and whatnot, and Stan Smith it's for those of you that don't know, the Stan Smith sneaker by Adidas, it's the longest standing named sneaker of an athlete. It's a tennis shoe and it's a unisex shoe, so you can be a man or a woman and wear the same shoe. And so I used to wear my mother's Stan Smith sneakers, and I would say when I can afford Stan Smith sneakers, that's what I'm going to wear. And so I have a closet with Stan Smith sneakers, and so he took them and he painted, and Mark told him, just create whatever it is you want to do. And that's how he created them. So I will be wearing my green Stan Smith BeAuSm sneakers in celebration. So now that I know that, I'm wearing green. I'm excited about it. So we're gonna try to say to people, we got 150 to 300. We're gonna double down on everything, including the money factor and the people factor. And so it's, how much was it a table or a chair?
So it's $125 a ticket.
Yeah.
Ticket price will probably go up a little bit March 1st, but then the table of 10 will stay at the $12.50. But you can do a table of 10. You can just put in your seating requests. You can make new friends while you're there.
Yeah.
So it's one of our higher price events, but it's one of our larger fundraising events. We do try to do stuff of different price points during the year.
Yeah.
But it's dinner, it's a band, there's a photo booth.
Yeah.
Get to hear awesome speakers, meet some awesome people, hear about what we do.
How many companies support you guys?
So we have 3 annual sponsors who just kind of on a rolling all year, which we're always taking annual sponsors. So we made it so people could jump in at any point in time during the year, then make it for a full year.
Yeah.
But right now we're on track for 10 sponsors for the gala, always taking more.
Yeah.
At different price points. And then that comes with gala tickets, depending on
what's kind of the low watermark, high watermark.
So the low watermark is $750, And then the high water mark is 5,000.
Okay.
And they all come with social media shout outs, things on our webpage, from the podium, different kinds of branding, things that we do. So that's the spread on that.
Okay. Thanks for listening to another episode of the BeAuSm Podcast. If you are enjoying our episodes, please give us a 5-star rating review on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts. Those ratings and reviews do make a difference in helping us get more exposure, more listeners, as well as giving people an insight and understanding as to what they could expect when they listen to our episodes. Thanks again, and you are awesome. And you're doing all of this basically volunteers, organization, Jake and Jenny, right? They played at Easton Country Club. They play forever.
Yeah.
Like they don't stop, right?
Yeah.
They've done a bunch of things.
Yeah. But they don't take breaks. They play for a long time.
I mean, they can take a break. We got them dinner, so they can totally take a break.
No, I know, but they were so impressive. And they play everything.
They play everything.
Yeah.
We got some country awards, and we want to support local and people to support local.
Yeah.
So
this is from 6 to what time? Whenever.
Last year, people left around 10 because it's a Thursday night and school and work and all of those things.
Okay.
But cocktail hour starts at 6. The program itself starts at 7.
Yeah.
So I think we have the room until 11. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, we just keep going, and it's just we wanted it to be more of a fun. The program itself of us talking ends up being like a half hour total. Yeah. Between the board chair and I talking, you talking, another speaker talking, because we wanted it just to be a fun night for people, not to have to sit and listen to thing after thing. The auction itself is silent, so people aren't sitting there listening to all of that. Also, we just want to make it a fun night for people.
Wow, a night out.
Out.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I like a night out. May 1st, I'm getting an award, which is amazing. And I told a couple of people after I talked to you on Friday, I called Amy, my fiance, and I called one or two other friends. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. And I was like, because I didn't believe it. And I woke up on Saturday and I called Paul, and he and we drove 1,400 miles. So we left Wednesday at 9 a.m., drove 700 miles to the event Thursday and part of Friday, and then drove 700 miles back. And so, and it's not exhausting. It's fun. I love windshield time with them. We do a lot of trips and things together. And I said, did that really happen yesterday? And he says, yeah. And he said, I said, what was that? What was it called again? I was kind of frozen. I thought it was a joke. I thought I was hallucinating. I hadn't had any of this sleep here. And so that's when I started to look at it. And I was like, wow, this is even cooler than what I thought it was, because we only talked about, like, I've literally had no involvement with your organization other than that one interaction and maybe one discussion. And I actually know someone that's taking advantage of your services. And so that's why when you said, hey, let's figure out how to collaborate, and I was kicking myself, was why did I step up and figure out? Well, that's what we're going to figure out. We're going to figure out how to do more together. This is the first starting point of that.
Absolutely.
And we're going to put your nonprofit. We're going to make sure it's on our website. And we're going to, we're going to put you on the back of every book we release.
Aww,
so we're going to make you one of our unofficial recognized companies. We'll make sure the logo's on there. So Mark's at home doing all the editing work right now. So we'll make sure we put that so that you guys get as much exposure of what you're doing as possible, because there's not a lot of programs like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean,
there's not, and that is truly awesome. It really is.
That's and so where did you get the idea? Because that's I
just come up with this stuff. I don't know. My husband's an engineer, and like he's got this creative brain, and our kids have it. And I just was like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. And I remember being like, okay, I can go back and get another master's degree in public admin and do all this and this. And I was looking into it, and then I was like, why? Why do I need to do that? Why can't I just try this? Yeah. This is something people form nonprofits for, things that they're passionate about. Yeah. So I figured it was worth a shot. Yeah. It was either going to work or it wasn't. Yeah. I think most nonprofits take about like 8 years to really kind of get to a good place. And the Easton Chamber has been super supportive, and the Tri-Town Chamber out of Mansfield has been super supportive.
Yeah.
And
you have multiple locations.
So the nonprofit itself is technically in Stoughton, but the practice has multiple locations, Stoughton, Mansfield, and we're virtual because we can cover the whole state. Yeah. But lots of times I just work out of my house in Easton. But we travel to different catchment areas that we're in, and you know, it's been amazing to see how many people were like, oh, okay, like we'll take a chance on this. And we send out emails and send out packets, and I always want to talk to people because I can explain like the passion. People can't always get the passion from you in an email or a phone call, but when I talk to people about the why, and nobody should have to suffer. There's too much negativity in the world. If we can help extra people to get to where they want to be their awesome self. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's the people on the board really just, everybody wants this. Everybody cares about it for whatever their own personal reasons are. Mm-hmm. Everyone can see why this is important.
Yeah. I see I don't know how people don't get overwhelmed with, what they see. Mark and I were talking earlier today, and I made a comment to him about, and I make the comment in keynotes, and I say 1 in 3 people is dealing with something difficult, challenging, or overwhelming, and everyone in the world is in one of 3 places. You've either just gone through something traumatic. Everyone goes through something traumatic in their life. You do not live a life more than a day where you don't have something that could cause a trauma in your life at any given point in time. Could be small, could be big, could be monumental, could be, and everybody has a different gauge on that. And so there was a part of the book that the editors were having a challenge with, and Mark pushed back, and he pushed back on me. And he said, where do you get this statistic? And I said, well, if you look at the National Psychology Study of some other thing, it shows that there were 20 million depression episodes, is what they call them, in the United States in 2021. If you look at the number of people that are battling cancer, this is what you have. The number of people that are going through a divorce, which that isn't always bad, 50%, but a high percentage of them is bad. You're in a bad place. You got to go through something. People are hurt. Kids are hurt. And so I say, drugs, disease, divorce, depression, it's a 1 in 3, and that can be overwhelming. And I just sit here and listen to you. And I just love the fact that you're just trying to help one person at a time. It's like the story of the man throwing starfish at low tide, and the kid comes over and says, hey, what are you throwing the starfish in the water for? And he says, trying to save the starfish. And he says, look at all these starfish. And he throws another one. He goes, well, I just saved that one. And I think that's got to be such it's an overwhelming, absolutely rewarding role that you play, that you get to help these people that are in need of it. People like me, and that's the biggest thing, is some of the people that we think are the most put together and everything's figured out are the most messed up.
Everybody needs help. Yeah. In some way or another. Mm-hmm. And like I said, if we can help one person make a difference for them, and everyone is always very grateful for the support. I've called people and talked to them. I talked to them myself about the scholarship, and some are on a full scholarship, some are on a partial scholarship. And I remember calling a woman and just saying, hey, we're going to put you on the scholarship. We're going to make it happen. And she just burst into tears and was like, but I don't get it. Like, what do I have to do? And I said, you just have to work on you. Yeah. You just have to show up. Yeah. I don't need you to do anything. We don't want you to do anything. We wanted to do this for you and to help you. And just, the gratitude from people. Yeah. And that in itself is rewarding. That is amazing.
Let's do this. First of all, how do people apply? Do they just call you, or do they go online?
They can call the office, which is 508-944-0231.
944
0231. It's actually my cell phone. Or they can email me, or they can there's a comment form online, and they can just fill it out. All the emails from the website go right to me. Okay. And they, and get the information, see what they're looking at. We put them on the same wait list as all other people calling in, and just when we have the funds, we move them over. And I manage who goes when and where, and same kind of good match system as people.
It's amazing that you and I are sitting here with some level of calmness, and it sounds like, it sounds like you have an even larger operation. I was just talking about my businesses. I have 2 sole owner businesses, and then I have a software company that I'm a vice president of business development, growing startup, and people always like, what do you like? Who do you have doing this? I said, I do it all. Like BeAuSm, every facet of the business I do, and I give out my cell phone and my home phone number. So I applaud you for that. But at the same time, you're like, it's overwhelming and crazy, and my phone's going nonstop, and I'm glad I turned it off, and we're still sitting here, kind of calm as can be. But so what we'll do is we'll put in the show notes all of the ways to contact you, to put them through the process to get started. We're going to put in how people can start to sponsor and fill those tables. I'd love to see you reach your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal of 300 people and $100,000 raised, and we'll work at how we can help in doing that. And we're going to continue this. You have a commitment that we will figure out how to do more to bring more awareness so that you can get to 78 people served, right? Because the goal is to as long as there's people that need it, then there's a need for you to grow and expand and bring more awareness. So we're just getting started, and I can't thank you for the call last Friday to initiate this podcast, to share this amazing recognition, this awesome recognition that you're giving me the honor of, and thank you for thinking this up from a patient of sorts that has had the feeling of in 2020 losing a job, almost losing BeAuSm. Feeling of some inadequacy and letting some demons raise, and then going and learning that the self-benefited package that I chose, the one thing I didn't look for, I made sure it had prescriptions, I made sure that it had emergency room, I made sure it had all the stuff. I didn't make sure that it had mental health support mechanisms behind it. And then that daunting number, and it probably would have made a difference. I know it would have made a difference in my outcome today. Things wouldn't have been as hard, but the thing that I see with therapy is it builds a practice, right? It builds a practice of how to do things. So thank you so much for people like me that could have used something like that. Fortunately, I came out of it on the other side, but there's people that don't, and you're doing an amazing job. This is phenomenal stuff, and I look forward to being part of more of this as we move forward. So we'll have you back before the gala. Maybe we'll set up a podcast booth in the gala. We'll see what we
that would be awesome.
What we can come up with and do there. Maybe do something.
Adam's gonna come.
Adam's already. He's already in. I've already told him. Yeah. He's already told him he's got to be there. Adam has been remarkable. Anything and everything. He ran the Spartan race with me, wearing cameras and doing all sorts of stuff. Adam has become my go-to with a lot of things, along with just the production of this. He's become a friend. So I'm going to just thank you early and say thanks for another great episode, Adam. You made sure to fact check me and do all the stuff that you do, and do it in a timely fashion. So appreciate you. And that'll do it for this episode. This is a powerful episode for those of you that are listening, that are having a challenge and dealing with some difficulty. If your services and insurance allows it, take advantage of it. If it doesn't, reach out to Marci and her team and take advantage of the opportunity to get the help that you need, that'll get you on the right path, and maybe just give you a little tune-up and get you squared away. But don't let things get overwhelming to you, because it's very quick for that snowball around to go downhill and get big. And I'm proof of it. So that'll be it for this episode. In the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.